Yo, 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 Salaam nerds! This your boy Neves, aka Watch with Neves, and I'm not here with my co-host Jazz because I think he is sleeping. I think he overslept. It's one of those times, you take a nap in the middle of the evening, and you think it'll be like a 20-30 minute nap, and you overshoot it, and you don't know where it goes. I am pretty sure that's what happened to Jazz.
He's
uh,
he's he's gonna be back next episode, just like the movie that we're talking about. He's taking a break from the franchise, and he's gonna be back in the next movie. So you see,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's like The Rock. We couldn't get the deal to bring him in this movie, and then he's gonna surprise us at the end of this episode. He's gonna show up.
right.
Oh man. Well, listen, we have to introduce you guys to Marley. You've met him in our episode about Super Mario. We
Mhm.
brought him back because he is the biggest Fast and Furious fan that I know. So I was like, listen, I gotta bring him in because my enthusiasm for the Fast and Furious franchise is lacking a little bit. You know what? I gotta say, I have a hard time with this. For me, I think it's one of those movies I gotta watch at home in the comfort of my own house where I can pause it and then play it again the next day. Cause like, I gotta say, I fell asleep watching this movie. I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, it's like you said you were jet lag
I
probably
was
from
jet lagged. So
because you just got back from your from
right. So
Pakistan. So
Yep, I came back from Pakistan and I also went to southern Spain, so my time zone stuff was all over the place. But I was like, you know what? I got to give the audience what they want. I got to watch this movie so I can review it and to do a podcast for it because we're family, right?
right,
we
family.
gotta do it for family. So I went and watched it, and it was in a one of those theaters with like the reclining chairs that go all the way back, and like they're super leather. And I think that might have had to do with it too because it was so comfortable that I fell asleep.
Oh, see, I had I watched this in the theater as well, but I also watched it in D-Box, so I felt like that was like a one way to keep me awake because the entire time I was just like rocking back and forth and just like when the cars are like jumping like jumping around, like my seat was jumping around too. So you probably should have saw it in D-Box to stay awake.
Oh yeah, probably should have. No,
Yeah.
this was super comfortable. I was just like leaning all the way back, and it was like, oh, I was knocked out at the end by the end. But you know what? It was still pretty entertaining. I gotta say. I mean, look,
Mhm.
the Fast and Furious movies are exactly what you expect them to be.
Mhm.
They are action movies. They do not defy the laws of physics. The plot is pretty much the same every single time. It's a cash grab, but you know what? You know
Mhm.
what I respect about it? I respect that the special effects and the stunts are all real because they're practical and they're not just
Mhm.
all CGI. It's like I love seeing a movie that's not just all CGI anymore, right? Like even though like there is tons of CGI in this movie,
Mhm.
the stunts are real stunts. They actually do a lot of that stuff in practical format. So
Right.
it's one of those things like Mission Impossible, Fast X. Something about watching these stunts done not in front of a green screen is just visually pleasing, and that's one of the things that I really do like about these Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like this one, not kind of like lesser than. Like I feel like the example that you just gave that they do the stunts for real are five, 4, 5, and 6. Probably not 7 because what happens in 7 where they jump a car through 2 buildings. Which
That one maybe not, but there are some where like they drop like cars from the I don't know from some parking lot and they make like Vin Diesel goes, what do you think? The streets always wins, and he like drops on the ground.
he kicks down a parking garage. Kicks down a parking garage, which, like, just those words that I just like just spoke into existence, like that just describes this entire like this entire franchise. This franchise is chaotic in
It's
like
so
the
chaotic.
best ways, and it's like I have to have like some of these movies like in my lives just in my life just because it helps me kind of like escape like the outside world, like when the world is kind of like messed up.
Yeah.
I put on a Fast and Furious movie and I can just kind of like think about forget about all the craziness. And like I'm not sure if I've said this like on Twitter, but I kind of, especially the later like Fast and Furious movies, like eight, 9 when they go to space, and 10 like the craziness that happened in this movie. It's kind of like American Bollywood movies.
Yeah, I totally agree. It is like an American Bollywood movie. You throw physics out the way. All they need is a dance number, and you're right there. That's all it really needs.
See, I don't know if they're gonna make Fast 11, but if Vin Diesel like comes out at the end and just does like a Bollywood number,
if it's a musical, it'll come full circle.
Exactly.
I would love it. They should probably get a Bollywood actor to join them. I think that'll be really, really cool.
Yeah. See, like I think it was either you or Shiv on TikTok. Like, where's the brown representation? Like, another reason why I love like these movies, especially 5 like onward. Like every single race is represented, and they're all kind of coming together to accomplish like a common goal. But it's like we need some brown representation. Come on.
I know. That's so weird. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
They have everybody but us. It's pretty strange, and like they're in Brazil and they're in all these places. I would like to see them do something in India or Mumbai. Let's see that. That'd be pretty interesting. I don't know.
Exactly. Can you think of like any like actors that?
Oh yeah,
you
tons.
would want it?
Oh yeah, Bollywood has tons of like action star actors, man. Akshay Kumar, Hrithik Roshan. There's tons of actors that they could have that would fit perfectly into this movie. Yeah. Oh yeah. Even the women, like Deepika, she was in the Triple X movie with, I believe, Ice Cube. She was great in that. Obviously there's Priyanka Chopra, which isn't my favorite actress, but at least it would be representation.
Yeah.
She's probably the most popular one. But yeah, you're right. We should have some representation in the new Fast and Furious. What is it? So the next one is actually not even going to be Fast and Furious. It's going to be a Hobbs thing. So
yeah, I just figured that one out, which is real funny because like The Rock comes back, like spoilers for like Fast 10. He basically is revealed to come back, and then now he's having another spin-off. Like his first spin-off didn't really do so well, like, and so I guess Universal is just kind of like, hey, I'm trying again. But yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. The thing is, like, I didn't expect that Rock reveal to happen because The Rock was very vocal about not coming back to the Fast and Furious. So I was like, all right, maybe they're just going to keep that mask on and kill him off, and then we're going to just kill off The Rock, and it's just that's what it's going to be. But then when he took off the mask, I was like, oh, The Rock is in here. Black Adam did that badly that he had to come crawling back to Vin Diesel.
Exactly. Which is super funny. It's like more people that are coming back. Like Gal Gadot is coming back. Giselle, after she was killed off in 6, like after falling off a plane.
Yeah.
She's back in like Fast 10. It's real funny that like everyone from the Snyderverse is now just being reborn in Fast and Furious. So it's like all the Snyder fans, if you're missing like your Snyderverse movies, you can just watch Fast and Furious instead.
Oh, what if that's the new Rock spin-off movie? Henry Cavill is going to be the antagonist, and they'll finally have The Rock versus Henry Cavill. It's that, and then if it's that, then all you need is like Ezra Miller in Fast and Furious. Oh my god! I mean, Jason Momoa's in here too, so you already have him.
Exactly.
Gal Gadot, Ezra Miller's probably the only one left. Ben Affleck, maybe. Yeah.
Right.
You have the entire Snyderverse in here. That's pretty cool.
But go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna ask you like your history with the Fast and Furious franchise, because I always like to ask people.
Yeah. So I was obsessed with the first Fast and Furious. I love that movie so much. I had the actual Integra that Ja Rule had in that movie. So like I could quote that movie like all day. It was the biggest thing in college. And I was really into, like, I had the undercar lights. I used to soup up my car and I was obsessed with that movie, right? That's why I did not like when they reset the franchise into being what it is, because it was so jarring to go from this grounded street racing
Hmm.
movie into this international spy ring that
Right.
like has like superhuman people. Like it was so jarring to me to go from one to the other, which took me like a few Fast and Furious movies to finally give in and be like, okay, fine. This is what it is now, right? It's completely
Right.
different. So that was my thing. So that's my history with it. I love the first one. Second one, I kind of liked it. I gotta say, I hope people don't hate me for this. I am not the biggest Tyrese fan. I'm sorry. I love Ludacris. I love like basically every other character in there. I love The Rock. I love Letty. I love Mia. Tyrese just doesn't do it for me. His comedy just doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry.
I think Tyrese on his own, his comedy doesn't work, but like when
Yeah.
he's playing off of Ludacris, I feel like that's when this franchise is at like at its best, just because like
I
them going
agree.
back
Yeah.
and forth. But yeah, so you're totally into like the tuner
Yeah.
culture.
Oh
That's why you
yeah.
love these movies.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
always been on the opposite. I came onto this franchise with Tokyo Drift. I remember renting it from
Gotcha.
Blockbuster, and I fell in love with Justin Lin. Like after
Yeah.
like watching this movie, because like if listening to the commentary like on Tokyo Drift and just hearing Justin Lin saying like he's not really into like like cars or anything like that, so
Yeah.
he decided to like twist like this yakuza plot line like into the movie,
Mhm.
and the way he kind of like transformed this franchise into just filmmakers just playing with Hot Wheels,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
like it kind of it I respect Justin Lin for that, because he gets like this franchise that he probably didn't necessarily wanted, but he just kind of made it his own, and he just kind of like, and he worked, he did the best with what he had, with
Yeah.
what he had,
For sure.
and I respect that, and I'll always respect Justin Lin for that. So when I found out that he left, like he was supposed to direct 9 and 10, and those were supposed to be like the last
Right.
of this franchise. When I found out that he left 2 weeks into production for Fast
Yeah.
10, I was crushed, just
Oh
because
no.
the fact that he couldn't like kind of like finish off his baby, which
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
get that.
but yeah, it's he if the audience doesn't know, like he did leave 2 weeks into production because he had a falling out with Vin Diesel, like creative differences, and like I said this multiple times, like on Twitter, that Vin Diesel basically treats this like an ongoing D&D campaign. So if if Justin Lin had like an idea for like the story of like Fast and Furious, and Vin Diesel didn't align with Vin Diesel, then
Yeah.
he basically just says, no, we're not doing it this way, we're doing it my way, which my way or the highway, if car
Yeah, I
puns.
guess.
So
I mean, listen, that's a lot of the critique that people have with The Rock too, and it's not a surprise that The Rock and Vin Diesel butted heads
Right.
on this a lot, because The Rock is one of those actors that gets a lot of creative control when he does a movie,
Mhm.
and so is Vin Diesel, and which is why these guys have kind of been stunted. Yeah, they're making movies that make money, but they've never been able to reach Arnold status, because Arnold was somebody who would. Yes, his acting was also limited, but he would go out and find these great directors
Mhm.
and take their notes and do what they ask him to do, right? Terminator and like True Lies, like James Cameron, he's worked with great directors,
Mhm.
right? And that's what I think like is kind of stunting their growth a little bit. And like I guess they don't care. They're like, hey, I'm making money. It is what it is, right?
Yeah, it is what it is, and like to give Vin Diesel a little bit of credit, like he as a producer, like he is a major producer, like
Right.
on these films. He may be trying to go out and get decent directors like Justin Lin, but like the talent that he brings in, like he brought in Gal Gadot, like in Fast and Furious, like the
Sure.
fourth film, like before she was Wonder Woman. No one
Yeah.
really knew who she was.
No,
like
that's true.
and like and even
She
someone
wasn't,
like
she was an extra in Entourage. That was the only thing she had
Yeah.
in her filmography.
and like even someone like Natalie Emmanuel, like
Yeah.
like she was like big on Game of Thrones, but she wasn't really known for like movies, and
Right.
like she's like she doesn't have a lot to do in 9 or 10, but she's still really great in like these movies. Like she has like a presence, but I give Vin Diesel credit for like kind of like finding stars before they're actually stars, and then they kind of blow up to be like like who they are today. So
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of stars, the movie starts off with basically 10 years in the past, and we get to see Brian, which I thought was pretty interesting. What are your
Right.
thoughts about that? Are you more of the on the you know what, man, let him go kind of thing, or are you more on like, oh, it's nice to see him, and I like the fact that they're still adding him into the storyline.
Well, I didn't. This didn't really bother me like all that much, just because they are calling back to Fast Five, where they
Yeah.
take the bank vault like out, like where they take the bank vault out of like the rip it out of the wall, basically. So they're basically just reusing footage, and I feel like they did a really good job like repurposing like the footage. I'll have an issue. I've heard rumors about this, about them bringing back Paul, like digitally recreate him,
Yeah.
like with AI. That really bothers me, because I like the fact like in 7, like they have like for anyone that doesn't know, Paul Walker like died in like a horrific like car accident,
Right.
and it was Vin Diesel's decision to not kill him off and have him live on in the Fast and Furious world, and him just kind of like live on with his family in that
Right.
world, which I feel like is really poetic. But if you're going to do that, they should have ended with 7,
Yeah.
because
I agree.
because
It was a great
ne-
end off. It was a great send off. It was awesome.
Yeah, and the problem that they're having now is this intro I didn't have a problem with, because that's like it's kind of calling back, like he was still alive in like Fast 5,
Right.
but like when they keep constantly like referring to Brian, like in these movies, and like Mia is like helping out the team, and just kind of like she totally like forgot like
Yeah.
like when they later on in the movie, where they like the agency is like we have to like take down like Jason Momoa, and like Mia is like a part of this team, and I always like in the back of my mind, when all that was happening, Brian is just at home watching Succession or Ted Lasso or something like that, which is like it's real funny to like kind of like think about that in like the back of my mind, but
Yeah.
I feel like they kind of wrote themselves into a corner by kind of not necessarily killing him off, and I feel like if they do kill him off now, it would be a little insensitive.
Yeah,
So,
I totally agree with you.
Mhm.
I think that would be a little insensitive. I think they should have thought of a better line or some kind of like way to get out of always having to refer to him. I
Mhm.
think that it just doesn't feel good when they do that, right?
Yeah.
And I think the send off that they had for him, in I think 7 was amazing. Like it made grown men cry. Like that, the
Yeah.
music and everything. It was great.
I never
Uh,
thought I would be crying at the end of a Fast and Furious movie. And like James Wan, give James Wan credit, like director
Yeah.
of Furious 7, like he succeeded. So
No,
Yeah.
for sure. And a lot of that made sense because he had finished, recording like majority of his scenes, and they got people to come in and finish it off. I think that's
Mhm.
fine, but for them to use any kind of like AI to add him in any further, I think would not be great. I would not
Yeah.
be happy
I-
with that.
to be honest, like what Justin Lin did in Fast 9, and I think they could probably do this like pretty much for like the rest of like the however many more movies that they make of this, is Justin Lin revealed like Brian driving up to the house, because all these movies end with like a barbecue, like a
Yeah.
and Justin Lin just had Brian like drive up to the house in
Yep.
his blue skyline,
Yep.
and like that's all, like that's how the movie ended.
Yep.
And I feel like if you like obviously don't do that like have like that shot like repeated, but I feel like if you just reference like the blue skyline, just knowing that he exists in that way to just meet up with
Yeah.
the family, I think
I think that'd be good.
that'd be really powerful. But
All right.
But yeah.
Well, speaking of cars and the skyline, one of the cars that I thought was really cool that we got to see
Mhm.
was Charlize Theron show up in a DeLorean. Like, what? What? That was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty interesting. And she comes in and she tells, she showed up to Vin Diesel's, what you call it, house. And I'm like, okay, how are they not gonna just kill her after what she did? But they let her explain what's going on, and she's like, "Somebody's coming after you," and then they just get like, whoever, I forgot who it was, the guy who comes in and takes her away the next day. What are your thoughts about that whole part about with Charlize Theron?
Well, this doesn't bother me like all that much, just because it's always been it's Fast and Furious canon at this point that like
Yeah,
Charlize Theron was the villain for like 8 and 9.
yeah,
So, but it's Fast and Furious canon that all the villains will just become family at the end because it's like
yeah,
so she's not technically family. Like she obviously has like the line like the enemy of my enemy.
yeah,
It is. I don't know. I forget the line completely because it was really dumb. But it's. I thought. Well, I think what I appreciated most like about this scene is Charlize Theron actually has something to do because like the last
Yeah.
2 movies she hasn't really done anything. She's either trapped in a box or trapped in like a void somewhere. Like they just
Yeah,
filmed
yeah.
like her lines, her scenes like over Zoom. But when she's like when she's like I think after the scene she kind of like explains like who like attacked her, and that's when
Mhm.
Jason Momoa like took her like her people. Like her action sequence is really great, and like
Yeah.
having her do something like that is like really showing like what Charlize Theron can do, and I'm glad like fast like Fast 10 they finally like gave her like a nice solid like action sequence. But
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
saw that at the end again when she fights Letty for like for a good 4 minutes. When,
Oh, yeah.
When the bomb is going off or whatever is happening, I forgot what it was, but yeah, they go into a fight, and then they're like, she tries to escape, and she realized they're in the middle of the Arctic or Antarctica. They're in Antarctica.
yeah.
And she comes down and gets her jacket, and then at the end you find out that Gal Gadot actually meets them up, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's in case if people are listening and they want to know like what's going on, like this movie's chaotic.
It's
Like
so chaotic.
it's like I feel like since Justin Lin left 2 weeks into like shooting, like they were scrambling to find a director, and like that scene you just described about Charlize Theron like fighting Michelle
Letty,
Rodriguez, like that scene was supposedly shot with like no director
Yeah.
because both of them basically just said we don't need a director, and they just like went at it, which is like
That's so funny.
it's real funny. But like what this movie kind of like I've praised like the editors of like this movie, because this movie is like 4 different movies going on at the same 4 different movies going on at the same time, and like God bless the editors that they were able to like stitch it all together and like have it all make sense into some sort of coherent
Yeah.
coherent mess. But yeah.
And speaking of like how everyone becomes family, Brie Larson shows up in this episode. What do you think of her in this movie?
I thought, to be honest, I thought she was actually kind of boring. I feel like this is all that. I to be honest, I think that Brie Larson filmed like most of her scenes when she had like a lunch break from the Marvels, and Vin Diesel was like, "Do you have any spare time? Do you have any time?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll hop over." And Vin Diesel's just like, "Oh yeah, I'm shooting this movie," and she's like, because the scene,
Yeah.
the scene with Ellen Richson and Brie
Right.
Larson,
Yeah.
that scene looked like it was shot like on a soundstage, like
Yeah.
like in like a green room, and like it looked really bad. And it's just
Yeah.
like the exposition scene where it's just like we're gonna spin the camera around the both of you, and you're just gonna explain everything that's going on like up to this point.
That's pretty much exactly what happened. Speaking of
Yeah.
Alan Richardson, he got so jacked in this
I
movie.
know, right?
Like, wow.
Have you seen Reacher? Because
Yeah,
he's pretty jacked in that. So
I haven't seen all of Reacher, but I've seen like the trailers of Reacher and like probably like the first episode. So I haven't seen all of it, but I remember him from like Aquaman and Titans, and also Blue Mountain State. So he's always been ripped, but he's never been like that huge. And I was like,
Right.
damn, he's getting like Vin Diesel size. So I was like, all
right.
right.
Vin Diesel side, because Vin Diesel's like the funny thing about Vin Diesel is that he's canonically really short in real life.
Yeah, in real life, yeah.
Which it's real funny, like seeing shots of him and like other people, and
Yeah.
he's always like framed at like he's like he's like extreme close up because he doesn't want people to see that people are like towering over him. But
Yeah, like he had a face off with The Rock, and The Rock is like 6'4".
yeah. And
Like-
he's standing on apple boxes in like one scene. I'm just like,
Yeah.
be real, be real.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Speaking of wrestlers, John Cena. For some reason, I don't remember the movie before this as well, but I feel like John Cena's character took like a turn. Like he just got really silly to the point of like almost like Peacemaker silly. Was he that silly in the? Because he was the villain in the movie before this.
Yeah, that this is like going on with my theory where he was the villain, but now he's just family. Even though he was family before, he was like his Dom's like long lost brother.
Right.
But that wanted to take over the world in 9. He was his brother that wanted to take over the world in 9, and then Dom was just like, "It's okay, I love you, man," and he's like, "You're family. Take my keys." And I'm just like,
That's it.
he was. It's like I remember screaming in the theater, like screaming like, "I don't care if he's your brother, Dom. Like he's trying to take over the world," and Dom's just like, "It's okay, I love you. Here's a Corona," and I'm just like,
Here's a Corona.
yeah, but
Nothing can't be solved without a Corona.
that was probably one of my biggest criticisms with 9 is that John Cena, like I do like John Cena in like movies, but he has to be lighthearted, and I feel like that I feel like the filmmakers realized, like they watched Peacemaker basically,
Yeah.
and they're just like, hey, just loosen up a little bit, just have some fun with it.
Exactly.
And John Cena is definitely like more pleasing to watch, like in Fast 10, but yeah.
It was pretty funny. I thought it was a big, I don't know. His character just like, it's kind of like you know how in Friends you have Joey, and then by the end of Friends, Joey is like super ridiculous. It's kind of like that. He started off like, okay, this guy had some brains to him. He was a little serious, and then in this one, he was just completely like, jokes all around. He did do his like finishing move though, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah,
he did his wrestling move.
He does his finishing move. He basically, like this action sequence is like he's basically he goes to Dom's house to save like Dom's son and Mia that are playing like video games, playing Mario Kart, I think, like in the house, and like these guys come up, Jason Momoa's guys that are like we forgot to like mention that Jason Momoa like he didn't necessarily like the way Jason Momoa like took Cypher's like guys, he basically just said, I have your families like somewhere, I'm gonna kill them, or so you better be on my side. And that's all he has against them.
That's all it is.
Yeah, but basically Jason Momoa sent like his guys to Dom's house to like kidnap like Dom's son,
Right.
and Dom was just like, hey, I'm using my spidey senses. I need Jacob. I need you to go protect my son and my sister. And he just shows up. The entire house is being destroyed, and when Jacob does his finishing move, he finishes him through 2 floors.
2 floors.
It just, I was just like, at this point, I'm watching the movie and I'm like, whoever's watching this, and if you're just saying like, oh, I don't believe any of this, that I'm just telling those people just walk out at this point, where it's just like, this movie is telling you what, like what it is and what it wants to be. So it's like,
no, you guys.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even suspending disbelief. You got to suspend everything.
Yeah,
in this
exactly.
movie.
Just
Oh man.
see that little flip, the switch like in the back of your head. Just turn it off. Just
turn
like,
it off. Turn it off.
Yeah.
And then like the lines where like he goes back to Brazil and he goes, "You can't buy the streets." Like, I just love it. They're so cringe, but it's so funny.
It's so good. It's like, I heard someone call this the Riverdale of cinema, which I haven't gotten to the crazy parts in Riverdale just yet, but from what I've heard, I think it's appropriate to call Fast and Furious like the Riverdale of cinema, just off the rails.
I just love some of the Vin Diesel lines. They're like, the streets always win. You can't buy the street. This is Brazil. It's just so funny.
Like, I have to wonder like what his race is, because it's like he's the most racially ambiguous like human being like ever. Like in the fourth one, like he's from the DR, the Dominican Republic.
Right.
Fast Five, like he's Brazilian. Then he's got, it's just like he's just. I don't know. It's just crazy.
And his son is like dark skinned. Like both parents were light skinned, and his son is dark skinned. Like, even that doesn't make sense.
It's supposedly like that son, like the kid in this movie. He like that's the son that he had with Elena, who is Brazilian.
Right.
Which, like she's got like some dark skin, but not like completely.
No, not like
and
that.
I'm just like, I don't know. Let's just say that Dom has a lot of baby mamas. He has a lot of baby mamas.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever works for this movie is fine. It's not the movie where I'm going to question people's races. Like, whatever.
Right.
I think like that's the least of this movie's worries.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, and then they go on this race, and they have this race, and they're racing with Jason Momoa. So they go back to its origins. They go back to street racing, and you're like, okay, cool. This is what I'm here for. This is what I like. And then all of a sudden, all the cars have bombs on them.
Right.
And you're like, all right, now they're back to being a regular movie. And then he has to decide whether he's going to save his friend, who he's known forever, who has his back, or this girl he has no idea who she is. He ends up saving this girl, and then turns out she was the sister of, his son's baby mama, basically.
Ratcatcher. That's.
Yeah, it was Ratcatcher.
Yeah, Daniela. I can't pronounce her last name, but she was in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. She was in Guardians too, actually.
Yeah.
But it was really funny because like I'm just like, okay, I guess that makes sense.
Right.
It's like anything can happen in this movie.
Anything can happen, and like, to be honest, like Jason Momoa, what he's doing here, it's like he's probably like the best part of like this entire.
He's a very charismatic bad guy. He's very flamboyant and very funny.
He's basically playing the Joker at this point.
Kind of.
But it's, I think, as someone that's a fan of like all these movies, I feel like this is like the first movie in like 10 movies in, this is the first movie where there's like a likable like villain.
Yeah.
Which has me worried, going back on like what I said, like if he's a villain, Fast and Furious canon, he's just going to be family. So which it kind of broke my immersion a little bit, like thinking about that, because it's like he's killing, like Jason Momoa is killing like everyone that Dom loves. Yeah. And at the end of like, since it's Fast X is supposed to be like a 2-part trilogy or whatever. Yeah. But at the end of like the second part, Dom's just like, I love you, Jason Momoa. I love you, Dante. So welcome to the family. I'm just like, this is why I can't take it seriously, because there's no stakes. There's no stakes anymore.
I love that Alan Richardson's character actually brings it up. He goes like, he just can't have everyone turning into family. Like, he's like, I don't like barbecues.
When he said I don't like barbecues, I busted up laughing
I
so
did too.
hard in the theater.
It was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh man. Also, they had Pete Davidson in this, which I didn't expect. That came out of nowhere.
In London, by the way,
Yeah.
Pete Davidson's just like chilling abroad in London, just like that scene. To be honest, is like the most unnecessary scene in the entire movie. Because Han, one of my favorite characters in this entire franchise, like he has, like he basically, like Pete Davidson's in the movie. He's like this kind of like druggy, like stoner, like kid, like stoner, like computer hacker, and he basically tells Han, and like Han's like sees like muffins, and Pete Davidson is basically like, oh, don't eat those. And for anyone that's a fan of these movies, you know that Han always snacks, so he grabs Han grabs like the muffin, just starts eating it, and he starts tripping, but they don't do anything with it.
Yeah,
like
they didn't do anything.
it's I keep on saying, like, if this movie actually like wanted to do something with this, like the rest of the movie would be animated. It would be from Han's perspective, which
that would be funny.
I would have lost it in the theater if that happened. But they don't do anything, because the next scene, Han just confronts his killer.
Jason Statham.
Jason Statham, and he's just like, he's just like, oh hey, what's up? You killed me once, but I'm back. So it's like.
That was just so wild. I'm just like, oh man. And then you find out that like the punching bag that he was using had a body inside, and he just runs out. This movie is unhinged, bro. It's so unhinged.
It's so unhinged. It's so unhinged.
Oh man.
Like I feel like if I were to recommend this movie, like just go for Jason Momoa, because you'll have a really good time. Like everything else, it's almost too unhinged at this point. It's like off the rails. Like I said, it's like 4 different movies like in one, and like those 4 movies don't know like what it wants to be, because like one movie you have Tej, Roman, Ramsey, like all like together, kind of like on like their mission, and then Dom is like on his own doing whatever he does, kind of grunting through everything.
Yeah.
And then Jason Momoa is off, like kind of doing his thing, and then it's just like.
Yep. And then Letty and Charlize Theron are out there being captive.
Right. Exactly. And it's like.
And then John Cena and his son are out there, and then also R.I.P. John Cena, or is he? Who knows?
No, he's not dead. As we like already stated at the beginning of this podcast, like Giselle is back. John Cena's back. There's some like the way he died. Even though the way he died, like it's most unhinged. Like he uses rocket engines to jump over like a freeway.
Yeah.
And lands like. Do you know why he did that? Like I watched this movie twice, and. I was just like, why? Like, what was his goal there?
Yeah.
What was his goal there?
Was there no other way to save Don's son? Like, I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I was kind of checked out at that point. But
and then you got Don, who like rips open a door and uses it as the Captain America shield, and just oh my god, it was crazy. And then the part that I actually liked. And I know it was like unbelievable, but when they started going down the dam in the car,
see,
my theater just bust up laughing.
That scene, I busted up laughing, but I also like got really excited, because when it's so crazy, like when he goes down the dam. Like he activates the NOS, and it goes back to traditional Fast and Furious, where it goes like CG, and like to show like the NOS, but like the animation that they like use, like it showed like Dom's veins, where it's like the NOS is like traveling through Dom, and I almost got too excited, because like the like when he activated the NOS, then like flames on the car started like just going everywhere, and like the tires started getting flames on it, I'm just like, Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider. If Dom is just Ghost Rider, I'm just like,
Oh man, this movie
unhinged.
Unhinged is the only way to describe
Right?
it.
Yeah.
And like I think the part where I actually fell asleep was the whole Pete Davidson thing that was going on, and I think the whole Letty fight with Charlize Theron, and the whole Jason Statham. Like I feel like all of that stuff happening, and I was just dozing off, and then I came
Right.
back in at the very end when everything else was happening, and then I was like, oh, The Rock. Is that The Rock? Is that not The Rock? Oh, they're gonna kill off The Rock's character, so they don't. he doesn't have to be in the movie anymore. That was a little bit wild. So
you probably came back when Alan Richardson basically. It's his Alan Richardson's character is wild in this entire movie.
Yeah.
Because he starts off hating Dom for
Yeah.
like we just said, he hates barbecues and
barbecue.
and like he says he wants to take back the agency. Like the agency
Right.
shouldn't be working like these people with these people because they're international criminals, which he's right. He's technically right because Dom just basically comes into goes to all these countries and just destroys everything.
Right.
And he obviously hates Dom's family for doing all this, but then there's a slight development where he's working with Dom
Yep.
because he needs him, but then he double crosses him at the end because he
Yes.
finds out that he's working with Jason Momoa because Alan Richardson basically shoots down Tej, Roman, and Ramsey's plane.
Yeah.
But did he shoot it down? Because I didn't see that plane explode at the very end. So it's
That is true. But then you got the flashback of him being at that bank at the same time as Jason Momoa, and you're like, oh, okay. I guess we were supposed to know that.
Right. It's so chaotic. It like I said, I can't really recommend this if you want to have a decent story. But if you want to kill 2 hours of your day, if you have 2 hours to kill,
Yeah.
just go see this. So it's
I think it'll be a great movie if you partake in some recreational substances and you're sitting at home and you're you're smoking
No
a little
comment.
something. I feel like that could make the movie more entertaining.
yeah.
Not that I would recommend it. I'm just saying, objectively speaking, it may make the movie a little bit more chaotic, and you're already in that state of mind where you're just
Right.
laughing your ass off over anything.
Exactly. And but yeah, I don't want to comment on that. And basically, that's how I was during the first screening of this, where it's just that's the way to watch these movies. It's
Yeah. I believe so. That's what a lot of people say. So I don't know, but overall, this movie is exactly what you expect it to be.
Mhm.
I can't. I'm sorry. I don't know. It is what it is, man. I can't even explain it. I can't tell people, "Oh, go watch it. It's amazing," but I can't even tell people it's not amazing because it's just one of those movies, man. You can't describe, and there's a reason it makes so much money.
Yeah. It's like I said at the beginning. These movies are American Bollywood films. So if you're a
Yeah.
fan of Bollywood films, just see what Americans are doing with their version of Bollywood. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is, man.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we missed? Anything that happened in the movie that we want to talk about that we didn't go over?
Well, I know we just said this entire franchise is unhinged, but one of the things that I did kind of appreciate about this, I'm sure it's been all over the internet that in 9 they go to space.
Right.
And it was supposed to be the joke for the longest time, and they finally did it. They finally went to space, and that's
Right.
probably one of the Nine's bigger criticisms is that the writers of this movie found out they became in on the joke, and
Right.
they started parodying these movies, and a lot of people didn't like that. I didn't mind it. I thought it was kind of funny that they're in on the joke.
Yeah.
But I think if I were to give Fast 10 credit, they kind of reined it back,
Yeah.
a little bit. It's
I believe
they're not going to space. They're not kind of writing missiles or something like that. They're not writing dinosaurs. or anything. Not yet, but at least it kind of like grounded like kind of like the stakes a little bit. Like not completely because they're still doing like insane like car stunts, but it's like at least they're not going to space. So
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
that was a little bit wild.
Mhm.
I don't even remember that, but like they had a spacesuit and everything, and it was just, it was crazy, man.
See, the craziest thing about them going to space, in my opinion, is when is how they got there. They basically got there on the backs of the Tokyo Drift cast, which in Fast and Furious canon, like from 9 from Tokyo Drift, it's only like a 2-year gap.
Yeah.
So like all the people like when they bring back like that cast, they're all like 40 years old, which they were like 30. They were like 30 years old when Tokyo Drift was made. So and they were supposed to be in high school.
Right.
But the fact that they went to space off the backs of high schoolers.
That's so funny.
It's so funny. It's so funny. So it's
This is one of the most strangest franchises, especially if you just talk about the way the titles of the movies are. It's like Fast and Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, The Fast and the Furious, Fast 5. Like,
well, no, it goes The Fast and the Furious. That's the first one. Which,
okay, yeah.
Fine, and then Too Fast, Too Furious. That's the second one. Which, it's like that's the second. That doesn't bother me. But
yeah,
then it goes back to The Fast and the Furious : Tokyo Drift. And then the fourth one, which is the soft reboot for this franchise, when Justin Lin brought back like the original cast.
Yeah.
That one is just Fast and symbol Furious.
Okay. So
then,
no the and no the word and.
yeah. No the word and then
Fast 5.
Fast 5 is just fast and then the word 5.
Right.
I believe. And
Yes.
then the sixth one is Fast and Furious 6.
Yes.
Still no does, but it's like
Still no does.
yeah, but they used like the number 6.
Yes.
So and then and then it goes Furious 7, so we're just forgetting Fast
So like why not go from Fast 5 to Furious 6 instead of like bringing back the skipping one in between? Like it's just so weird.
It's funny because it's called Fast and Furious 6 on like IMDb, but if you watch like the movie, the title card says Furious 6. Which is like, I'm just like
so
like
confusing.
what is this movie called? And then the 8th one is Fate of the Furious, which I think is clever because 8, and that was supposedly be the final one.
Right.
It was supposedly be the final one, and then 9 is F9 colon the Fast Saga, and then as we know, like Fast X, the movie that we're talking about now, like they've never used Roman numerals at all throughout this entire franchise, and now they just decided to use it.
And the next one is going to be called Fast X Part 2. So now they have a Part 2.
This is chaotic naming convention.
I'm just surprised they didn't use fasten your seatbelts. Like, that's what it should have been called.
That's what I was like clamoring for, like on Twitter. Just call it. It's chaotic, but
man.
But I think it's going to be called. I think the second part is going to be Fast X Part 2, because
it would be funny.
Louis Leterrier, he's Louis Leterrier is he's a French director, so Fast X Part 2. So it's
that would be funny.
Yeah.
Would be hilarious. So the spin-off with The Rock is supposed to be the in-between of Fast X and Fast X Part 2, basically. Mm-hmm. Or is it happening at the same time as Fast X?
Yeah. I'm not, the timelines on this whole franchise is chaotic, but I would assume it's happening probably at the same time.
Same time, yeah.
Because The Rock says that his feud with Vin Diesel is done, but I don't believe it. I think that there's still something there. So I think what they'll probably do is like he'll film like his own movie, and
Yeah.
he can kind of rake in the dollars on that. And then when they do part two, that's when they just they kind of like intercut like with Vin Diesel and The Rock, and never have them on like on screen at the same time.
Oh,
Where
that'd
it's-
be weird.
It would be really weird, but like Universal and The Rock, they both win. It's like Universal gets a check, so does The Rock, and then and The Rock doesn't have to act with Vin Diesel like on set. So it's like
Oh, these prima donnas.
so many prima donnas.
Oh man! All right. Well, listen, Marley. Thank you so much for being on the show. Before you go, let people know where they can find you.
Thanks for having me, Neebs. This is always fun, like talking movies with you.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
people can follow me anywhere where I can talk about movies with the username at Marley Loves Film. I'm pretty much that everywhere on Letterboxd, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and then you can listen to my podcasts, the Real Lovers podcast, anywhere where you can download or subscribe to podcasts. So.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And guys, until next time, guys, Salaam nerds.